Today we're going to talk about Kyler Murray's interviews on Get Up on ESPN and the Dan Patrick Show and his draft stock and why some folks just are off their rocker, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today we're going to talk about Kyler Murray's 2 interviews and his draft stock, according to folks that don't follow Oklahoma football or haven't ever seen a Kyler Murray interview. But first, this video is presented by American Putter Company. Use my name at checkout when you visit AmericanPutterCompany.com and receive 10% off your order. They're also the presenting sponsor of my radio show, which debuts this Sunday at 10 a.m. on the Sports Animal 97.1 FM locally, KYAL. And I'm gonna, it's online, so I'll link it in Twitter if you follow me there. And I hope that you will join us all. I'm very excited about it. Shout out to the advertisers who have joined in on a show they haven't even heard before because they watched the videos and they believe in what we're building here. That be Trey's Bar and Grill, that be thefanstop.com, and that be my favorite realtor, Steve Bullard. Some of y'all follow him on Twitter. Awesome dude. If you're interested, please reach out. Always looking to talk about ways to help the show. So let's talk about Kyler Murray and this Get Up on ESPN interview with Laura Rutledge and Mike Greenberg. My man was repping his Gatorade hoodie, which was one of his sponsors, while he does his Super Bowl junket. Because what we all know is that while Kyler Murray isn't necessarily the best player in the NFL draft or last year's baseball draft, he is the most interesting player in the draft. Man needs his own Dos Equis commercial. You know what I'm talking about? Some folks just don't understand that you can be that athletic and not necessarily be so inclined as to want to participate in interviews. This is a guy that low-key we still think dipped out on an interview day because he was just kind of over it, and he should have been. By that time, he'd been through the awards circuit. He'd won the Heisman Trophy. He talked about football and baseball, and maybe he was over it, but I've said this, and I'll continue to say it. You're the quarterback of the Oklahoma Sooners. Your job at one point or another is to talk. You ain't got to like talking, but you need to talk. And that's basically what's going on now with Super Bowl week as he gets set to pick football or baseball, perhaps report to the spring training camp for the Oakland Athletics later on this month, even join up into the NFL draft and get signed. We don't really know it right now, but everybody wants to know and everybody wants to poke at Brodham. And if he's going to go on an interview, he's going to get questions about whether or not he's going to play football or baseball or some combination of the two. And yeah, the journalists, the folks that work in media, did their duty in asking him those questions repeatedly. Hey man, is this going to be the show that you reveal where you're going to do, what you're going to do, or where you're going to go? Are you going to be in the NFL? Are you going to be in the Major League Baseball? Do the Oakland Athletics really have a say in this? If you got drafted by the Oakland Raiders, does that throw a monkey wrench into their plans? How are you going to deal with all of the publicity around this? What is going on in your skull? When are you going to make a decision? So on Get Up, he basically said what he's been saying all year, which is, I don't really know. I just know that I love playing football. I just know that I love playing football and baseball. I know that I absolutely adore the idea of being a professional athlete, and it's been one of my goals since I was very young. And if you're Kyler Murray, there is no losing situation here. Folks talk about him being in the NFL or in baseball in the same manner that they might talk about whether or not you're making the best decision for your life going forward. He is a millionaire no matter how you look at this. And yet folks believe that he could be making a bad decision by picking one sport or the other based on what they want, not what he wants. So he goes on Get Up and he says, hey, I'm going to make a decision post Super Bowl, probably immediately following out the Super Bowl. We don't really know. I don't want to give a date. Go back to Dallas. I'll talk with my family and we'll make a decision. Then he goes on the Dan Patrick Show for a cringe-worthy interview because if you listen to Dan Patrick's radio show or even watch the YouTube clips, you know that Dan is going to ask uncomfortable questions because Dan is a journalist first, whether you like it or not, and he's going to poke you about the things that you don't want to be poked about. So this was a bunch of Dan Patrick trying to not necessarily bait Kyler Murray into picking football or baseball, but ask him the questions and try to get Kyler to have fun with it. But folks that haven't watched a Kyler Murray interview think that that's some sort of way of making it weird when that's really just how Kyler Murray is. He's going to say what he wants to say. If he doesn't have anything to say, he's not going to say anything at all. And the way that the man said that he was entering the NFL draft was also the most Kyler Murray thing ever. The dude sent a tweet. Didn't say whether he liked one or the other, just said, I'm going to enter the NFL draft. That's how Kyler Murray has done all of this the whole way. That's also right down to him on the molecular level of Kyler Murray. He ain't Baker Mayfield, all right? He's just as talented an athlete, if not more so. And he might be even a better quarterback in the NFL, depending on who you ask. But the point here I'm trying to make here is his personality is not that of which you're going to want him to talk at length, because that's not what he does. What you're going to want him to do is play ball. Now, you can make a good argument as to how that might hurt him in sponsorships and endorsements, but the fact of the matter is, if my man can go out there and mash or throw 40 touchdowns, you ain't going to really care what he has to say. You're going to care whether or not he's an MVP candidate or not. And that's what most folks get to miss about the draft stock thing is, I don't think the NFL draft stock really is contingent on whether or not you interview well. I think it's about whether or not you can play ball. So if you want to continue to make an argument that Kyler Murray's draft stock fails or goes down because of a couple of weird interviews to folks that haven't really followed Oklahoma football, you can be ignorant. That's fine. There's no law against being ignorant. But don't tell me about it or anybody else that watched Kyler Murray play football or watched every single press conference that he did, because we know from what Kyler Murray is and not what you want him to be. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.